new addition to the family?
There is, yes. Stella, she's 10 weeks old. She's adorable, if I do say so myself.
But at least people be confused. We're talking about a granddaughter. Okay, all right. Okay.
No, I'm the mother. I'm the mother.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Anyway, I would like to call to order the Cohasset School Committee meeting of Tuesday, November 1st, 2016. It is a regular school committee and as such, a reminder to everyone that the regular school committee meetings are televised and recorded. And I would like ask for a call to order, please.
President Barbara Steffen.
President Kitty Dugan.
Present Gina Stino.
President Ellen Mar. President Amanda Zani.
And that's at 7:05, sorry for the little delay. Anyone who would like to join us in the Pledge of Allegiance, we would be delighted to have you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, so the first item on our agenda is invitation to speak. Does anyone have any questions, comments, concerns? No? Then we will move right along to approval of the warrant. And I did come in and review it. Everything looked in order. And could I have a motion to approve warrant 17-08S?
So moved.
And do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, roll call please.
I, Barbara Steffen.
I, Kitty Dugan.
I, Gina Stino.
I abstain, Ellen Mar. I, Amanda Zani. Okay, next, we have a new agenda item of 5-minute duration, but if you go over, that's okay. We've asked our middle high school representative who films for us and sometimes sits at the table with us, depending on what we have going on.
The multi-talented.
Exactly, multi-talented, Jane Cavanaro, to give us a little report at each meeting on what's going on at the middle high school.
So in the high school, the student council just had a really good homecoming week and a great spirit week, and we had a really fun dance, game, and pep rally, so that went really well, planned by the student council. And then, aside from student council, Powder Puff is starting to run up by the seniors and junior girls, so that's something that will be happening like within Thanksgiving time. And then I think Coach A is gonna start a clothing drive within the next, student council is gonna do a clothing drive within the next few weeks, like selling clothing, like school spirit and stuff, so that way we can spread the school spirit. And then Coach E is gonna do a food pantry drive a little bit before Thanksgiving, I think, to have like Cohasset families who can't afford Thanksgiving meal
That's
to
great.
be provided. And then in the middle school, they just had their Halloween dance last Friday, and that was really successful. And then they're wrapping up their selling their spirit clothing right now. So,
Great. Do you have any idea of what day Powder Puff is going to be this year? Is it going to be Wednesday or is it going to be Tuesday?
I'm
Do you
not
know?
sure yet. No, I don't know.
Traditionally, it was on
Yes.
Wednesday, the day before Thanksgiving, but
After, I'm
the
not
last
sure.
2 years, I think, it's been on Tuesday.
Yeah.
I don't think it is on the calendar.
It's on the calendar.
Is it for
Is
Tuesday?
it? For Tuesday?
Tuesday.
Okay, great.
I think that President Connolly did not like the Wednesday because it's that traffic thing for everybody.
Right. Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jane.
Next is the superintendent's report.
Thank you. Well, we have a special guest. If she could stand, that would be great. This is Emma Humphrey. Every year, there is a very special honor that's given, and it is, if I may read it, it's a certificate of academic excellence, and it's for the duly qualified under the standards prescribed by the Massachusetts Superintendents Association, and it is a certificate that applauds your academic excellence above all others at the moment. So congratulations, this is a big honor. Wow.
Oh, yes, yes, yes.
Face to face.
It's a girl in our family.
Oh, absolutely.
We should have done this.
Right.
We'll try to side of the pole here.
Sorry, no problem.
Very friendly.
Smile, smile like you mean it.
Open that certificate, we wanna see this.
Open it up. Smile like you mean it, come on.
Okay,
Come on.
push it a little bit more.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mom.
Thank you.
I know.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
Thank you.
absolutely, congratulations. Early embarrassment.
Thank you very much, Chief. Appreciate it. Thanks.
Nice to see you guys.
Thank you for coming.
One more time.
We also have on the agenda the Camp Week report, and Carolyn Connolly wished she could be here. She's had a family issue to tend to today, so I did ask that she stay home and tend to that family issue, and that we could catch up on some of these things later. I can give you a report on the next, though. That's the private school enrollment report. What we have is, and I'm glad to say we have very accurate enrollment numbers as of today, both to the Sims report and to what's here. What you have, although they're listed by grade 6, 7, and 8, and that's the middle school private school enrollment. Where you see grade 6, they are currently in grade 7. So that was the entrance. These are, for the most part, withdrawals, or they all are, during the summer. And if Carolyn were here, she would share what I'm about to share with you. The private schools have, many of them, have changed their entrance time from grade 9 entrance high school to middle school. So we're seeing an earlier withdrawal within the schools. 9 of the, what would be current 7th graders have gone to BC High. And as you see, others have gone to Latin or a couple of other schools. So that's really where they are. There were 16 going into grade 7 who have gone to private school or left. A few of them have gone to California, UK, et cetera, Rhode Island. And in 8th grade, we have an equal number. There are fewer in grade 7, which would be the entrance to those private schools. So it's very indicative of when they would leave and go to those private schools. Do you have any questions on that?
This report is fantastic. It would be helpful just now that we are having these conversations, I remember having this about high school, but not necessarily middle school. It might be helpful just for next year's report to kind of show us year over year, maybe just in summary form, so we get a sense as to how things are moving, because it does shift quite a bit. And I can, having looked at some of the reports for the long-range planning group, one of the things that we did pull was that total school attending report, which indicates all children who are under of school age, they're Cohasset residents, and it was interesting to see that the overall percentage of private had crept up in the last couple of years. It had actually gone back to levels that maybe we hadn't seen for a decade, so it does vary quite a bit, but we are creeping back up to that close to 15% of total students in private.
So this was 10 more than last year,
Okay.
but it was a little different. Last year was the incoming grade reported, so last year's report for grade 6 was grade 6 as of the fall, and this was grade 6 as of the spring.
Apologize,
So
yeah.
that's all right. But it is 10 kids, 10 more kids. And I think it's good. You have to know when kids move out of the district, that's out of our control.
It's also a larger class, so that could come.
Right.
Yeah, the 6th moving into 7th was 144, so it was one of the larger bubble classes.
Right.
So historically, if we look at it, we did consider that the percentage would probably go up a little bit because they can go earlier, so that's
Correct.
a larger percentage out of the
Earlier,
pool,
right.
Cause I mean,
We typically lose about 10%.
right,
Yeah.
it's pretty clear that people are taking advantage of the lower BC High grades grades to get their foot in early.
Okay, so,
Oh, yeah, I have one more question, Lydia, and I don't know if you can answer it. So was the survey given to every child who was testing out? Were there any children that did not participate?
No, everyone was given the survey. A few of them chose not to, as you see for the none, I would imagine. I can ask again. But usually, either Carrie or Carolyn will meet and ask for a survey.
Okay.
So it's usually,
Okay, they don't
Oh.
have to give the reason, but
Right.
I just didn't know if there were children
Right.
that just didn't take the survey at all or didn't turn it in.
didn't turn it in or didn't want to share. Anyone else?
don't think so. No? Okay.
Our next piece is SSEC, and that is the South Shore Educational Collaborative. I believe there was a conversation last year, although I was not at the table, with Barbara about the admitting Milton as a board member to South Shore Educational Collaborative. And there was a final signature today, and I don't know if there needs to be a vote on that, but the state has approved the acceptance of Milton into the South Shore Educational Collaborative. But it needs an agreement of each member.
Right, so because it says approved by the school committee and I sign as its chair, I would appreciate it if we would take a vote that we have signed the document, okay? So,
Can I actually ask a question?
Sure.
Before I vote?
Sure.
So I just out of curiosity, so if Milton as a board member, does that just mean they can send they have like more of a priority to send students there?
They
or
have a
what's-
vote, and they can send students to
Right.
South Shore Collaborative, correct,
Right,
they do. It
Okay,
gives
so
them the
we
right
just-
to the collaborative, to the
Right.
enrollment, to tuition, to the rights of every other participating school.
right, cause I know they can take students that aren't members, voting members, but, so, okay, I think that answers that.
Any other
Okay.
questions?
I was just, are they currently sending students to the collaborative? Milton?
I do not think so.
Okay.
I'm not positive. I know that they're not actively sending people. I have a feeling there's a shift in some of the collaboratives, and this is a better place for them. But they've petitioned for over a year.
Okay.
Alright, so could I have a motion to approve, a motion that indicates approval of the Cohasset School Committee to allow the South Shore, the town of Milton to hold a seat on the board of directors of the South Shore Educational Collaborative. I think that covered it.
So moved.
Okay, Mrs. Dugan moved it, do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, and then could you please pass this down to Louise?
The next item is the MCAS accountability level. We have, if you look on the accountability on our website, we are designated a level 2 district. However, when I looked closely at the accountability to, obviously, and I've said this before, MCAS accountability or PARC accountability is really designed to help school systems achieve and progress. And it's very difficult to achieve those extra credits because we've already reached our max. So it was predicted that we would do a level 2. My concern was our middle high school was a level 2 when it came out, and it was based on 2 students who had not taken one of the exams. So it was on participation, not on achievement. We'd met all our benchmarks as far as that's concerned. So I petitioned to the state because we have so small a population, and it was based on 2 students. And my concern was if I was in Boston, Milton, Lawrence, Lowell, anywhere where there was a large population, that would be nothing. I sent the student records to the state, gave the reasons why the students had not taken the exam, and it was that the exams were so close together that one student was ill and missed both. And for that reason, they rescinded that one and changed our level from level 2 at the middle high school to a level 1. So the website will still show a level 2 for some time, but we are a level 1 middle high school, so I think that's great news.
Good. Thank you for delving into that to find out what had gone on, so we appreciate that. Katie?
I don't wanna rush the work that I know the building principals and Sue are doing around looking at MCAS scores in general. Do you have a timeline in mind in terms of when we can at least have a conversation about some of the underlying MCAS scores and trends to understand those?
Sue is working with that right now. She's also trying to decipher where our student population is, that there is a need. Dr. DeChiara has done a great amount of work. Her staff has also on their early release day. And all districts have done some data analysis. But Sue Schieber will be available. She just wasn't available tonight, so we didn't put her on the agenda. She has two things on her agenda. It's the AP trends and AP results and the MCAS, so sometime in November, which is what we did last year as well. We wanted the results to go home, which they did, I think, last week.
Yep.
And to settle all of these little questions that we have.
Can I ask a question related? Given that the state has decided to stick with MCAS, and this was supposed to be a hold harmless year for us.
Correct.
Will that still hold true, or will we be accounting for this year?
We are not accounting for this year. This is the new MCAS 2.0, and the state is holding the entire state harmless, which means we don't have any accountability, although we will have results.
Right.
And it will be, this particular MCAS that we're reporting out has a propensity to have many more questions that are the 2.0 or part type questions. The other piece is the writing piece for grades 4 and 7 was deleted. So it's a very different test, so it's very difficult to say this from last year to this year.
Right.
And this current year will be even a more drastic change. Grades 4 and 7 are going to be taking the test online. It's all digital based. The only grade that remains unchanged is grade 10, and this is probably the last year that grade 10 will not take the traditional MCAS. And we are held harmless. There is no big accountability. Usually a level 2 school in such as Title I grants has to set aside a certain amount of money and that kind of thing. We will be held harmless without accountability. This is a trial year.
I did notice on the results that came home to our house that they actually did have a modest amount of kind of Parker MCAS 2.0 questions on last year's exam, so we got a sampling as to how our students are doing on those in a sense of from a administration perspective on performance on those.
We do. The irony is we're being held harmless, but we're using the Common Core standards for ELA, and the ELA standards are changing. So we're going to be in flux for a number of years. It's going to be very interesting.
It would be interesting when Sue does the workup and report out to school committee on MCAS. I'd love to understand how our students did, if we can call it out specifically on those PARC questions, just out of curiosity.
That may be difficult to
Okay.
do because we don't have the PARC test to compare.
Well, embedded in the results that I saw as a parent, they actually called out and graded, so you were held harmless on the PARC questions, and then the MCAS is what the MCAS questions was what generated your student score, but it did call out specifically the performance on the PARC questions. I was just curious.
That may be difficult to do
Okay.
because we're asking for specific questions. You'd have to tally every single test on that question.
Okay. So I can see, I can
think
see it
that
as,
might be
so I can
difficult.
see it as an individual parent, but you don't necessarily have the data that way as a district?
Correct.
Okay. All right.
Actually, Stu, have we seen a big trend in opting out happening at Deer Hill, or is?
Deer Hill, no.
No.
We had, one of the issues with participation was an opt-out. And when parents opt out not to have their child participate, that does count against us.
Right.
That is a deliberate non-attendance.
But we're not seeing a huge trend with that, but for us, 1 or 2 students opting out.
And that's what happened with the middle high school.
Yeah.
We did have one student who did opt out. Had that student, or 2 students not, we would not have been in the participation.
it is, I don't know how to communicate this to the community, but it is an important point for people to understand that opting out, even though you may view this as a parental right, it negatively impacts the district in terms of our,
The whole district.
the whole district.
Yes.
And I know that, just based on some of the stuff that the CTA and has been putting out there, they actually have guidance to parents on how to opt out if they so choose.
They use their right. Any
Yes.
other questions?
Any other questions from the school committee? No?
Bianca Bersani, 44 This might be part of this future discussion, but it would be helpful to know, you brought up the point that we are level 2, mostly because of ceiling effects, we sort of hit the
Correct.
ceiling test. And so it would be nice to have that conversation as to whether there are steps to attain the level 1, or are we statically going to be at level 2 because of those growth blocks, right? It would just be nice to sort of understand the background to that and how people attain a level 1 and sort of stay there, and sort of what hindrances there are to us to move in the future. So it could be part of this future.
Yeah, it is,
discussion.
and I'll answer it very briefly. In order to maintain a level 1, we would have to have probably 97% of our students obtain a very high score consistently. And there are 500 extra points that one can attain. Last year we had some of those, this year we have 25. We just don't qualify. One of the qualifications is 10% growth from the needs improvement and failing. We don't have 10%, so we can't grow 10%. The other 10% is achieving advanced level by 10% growth. We don't have 10%, we have 5. So we don't even qualify even if we tried really hard. So that's our problem.
Yeah, so that.
And we're small.
Yeah, that's helpful. I mean, so if that's comparable to other schools that are like us, that kind of get stuck in that level 2, that would be really nice to know, that clarification, sort of a comparison.
And I'm not sure that it's, and theoretically, I'm not sure you're stuck at level 2, I just think that you bounce back and forth between level 1 and level 2, cause mathematically, you bounce down to level 2, and then at some point, you can grow back to level 1, but then you mathematically, you get bounced back to level 2, so it's that.
And so are there consequences to that shifting or not necessarily?
No.
No.
Not between 1
But
and
if
2, not
you-
until you get to 4 or 5 are there real consequences.
You can go into the website,
I see
and
your
there's a
hand,
drop-down
Barbara.
menu, and you can go down to some of the districts that you would anticipate would do very poorly, and they have not, because they have gained all this extra credit. And that will give you a perspective on exactly how the MCAS scores work. It's really to get schools to perform better, but, and as we said 3 years ago, it's not for schools that already perform well.
No, I think that it's just
Yeah.
part of the conversation.
Yeah, it will
right? To
be.
see
I'll
that
have
drop
Sue-
is
yeah.
disconcerting, so.
I know.
Right. And Barbara?
I was just gonna say last year, I don't know what, I could look back and probably find which school committee meeting it was, but you did a pretty detailed, analysis of how they measure, you talked a lot about student growth percentiles and some of the, conundrums this district finds itself in terms of that we can't even qualify for certain bonus points to get ourselves to level 1, so, you can watch. I don't know if it's up on the website yet, but it was fairly detailed and
No,
went
but
into.
it would have been probably a presentation that we had a PowerPoint that you
Yeah.
shared, Louise, so
And-
maybe we could look back and see,
And Sue will have all of
Right,
that.
right, when
and
she does
see
it.
where that is. Maybe we could even put it on the website so that people could see the explanations. I think that that's what you're looking for, Bianca?
Yeah, I just think that there's been a conversation of concern, right, with
Right.
that shift, and so just.
Right.
I think
It's helpful.
the slide you're talking about is taking districts that were very close to receivership and achieved extremely great levels because they had fantastic growth. And that was the slide that, that it's very difficult to say, here's this district that's in, drawing attention for inconsistent performance or low performance academically and doing so well. That's because the incentive is there for growth. But it's a discussion, and we certainly do not take it lightly. We've been poring over scores.
But because next year is a whole harmless year, that level will stay in DESI for
Correct.
theoretically 2 years.
Right. We will retain this level until 2023. 2018.
Okay. Anything else? No? Okay.
We have new hires. I think we've been very, very busy. The last time we met, I did say that we had a resignation for our school psychologist at Osgood Deerfield. We have a hire. She has tremendous resume, and I really have to call her superintendent and apologize because she's leaving her district to come here. But Allison Doyle is coming to us in November 28th. She will start with us. She had to give them 30 days. And I was totally impressed. We also have a retirement coming in December with Mary Dugan, and we announced some time ago. We have found a speech person, which we thought we might have to contract out for a while, but she also is extremely delightful. Kate Whiting comes to us, and she will be starting and overlapping with Mary Dugan on December 12th. So they'll be together so she understands the caseload and the students and so on. She will also be at Osgood Deerfield. We also have to we've talked about the SPED stabilization fund, and we've talked about surprises, and we have encountered the two that we anticipated. Two little munchkins are coming to us in the preschool in the next month or so. We need to extend adult supervision in both the afternoon and in the morning classes. We need to extend a current .4 staff member at the preschool to a .8, and we need to hire another .4 person to be with us in the afternoon. So that needs to be a vote. It's an increase in personnel.
Any questions on that?
And you're extending ESPs, right?
Correct,
Yes.
ESPs.
Gotcha.
Yeah. No questions? Yes.
Yeah, is there another ESP that could pick up the .4?
There is. One ESP who's with us in the morning is a .4 will become a .8.
Right. And that's the only one, there's not another one?
We need to hire another .4.
Another .4.
Correct.
So we're adding .8 in total.
Correct.
Right.
Above and beyond
Correct.
what was
I
budgeted.
have Mary's letter here, and she just said she recently evaluated 2 students who are turning 3 this month, and after team meetings held this month at Joseph Osgood School, the teams recommended additional adult support in both students' classroom. At this point, she's requesting a .4 ESP for the afternoon session and a .4 ESP for the morning session. The afternoon session can be covered by a present ESP who's currently at .4 in the preschool, and we would have to advertise, post, and hire an additional .4 for the morning.
And the start date?
Start date would be, I believe they start in the middle of the month, probably mid-November, a couple of weeks they're coming in. They turn 3 just about then.
Just one.
Yes.
Just the budget impact of this is around $20,000, is that ballpark?
Yeah.
About right.
That's pretty accurate.
Okay.
If I could just add, when you mentioned that there were two expansions that were expected, they weren't expected at the time we were doing the budget last
Right.
spring.
I was going to add that.
These came up in September when the parents notified us that they were moving to town, and we had a chance to look at what was their IEP.
Right.
And recognized that if we were to keep them in district, we would take additional help. To your question about, is there anybody else on staff who might take the other .4, we will post the job. It's possible that there's somebody who might take it, but it seems unlikely because it's an afternoon position, not a morning position.
How difficult do you think that position might be to fill, because it's afternoon and it's just a half day?
I think the afternoon, I believe, is Deidre Hobson, I think, is now in the morning, and I think she's agreeable to extend to the afternoon to put in a full day, so she would be a .8.
But the other
The other one would be in the morning.
Oh, the other
Oh,
one's in the
morning.
morning.
Morning,
Oh, okay.
right.
All right, great. I misunderstood.
No, I think
Okay.
I misspoke.
Whichever, we need a
We need a half, we need a
We need
.4 in the
half a
morning,
person.
and it's a .4 because preschool
But-
runs
Right.
4 days a week, not 5 days a week.
Right.
Given Mary's great success rate with both collecting tuition and collecting and getting great speech therapists and psychologists in split time, I have no problem thinking that she'll have all this in order, so.
Great. Okay. Anything else? Okay, so then we need to vote on this. So I would anticipate that the motion would be to approve, appoint 2.4 ESPs to serve needs in our preschool. So could someone make the motion?
I'll make a motion to, allow the district to pursue hiring 2.4 aides, to support preschool special education services.
Okay. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Do a roll call, please.
Aye, Barbara Steffen.
Aye, Katie Dugan.
Aye, Gina Stino.
Aye, Ellen Mar.
I, Amanda Zani.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
We'll post in the morning. And you'll be very excited. You also have on the next agenda item, my entry plan and my goals. I know that we originally spoke about, doing any variety of things. I'm goal driven. And first I wanna thank Ellen and, Amanda for meeting with me and working some of these things out, and helping me verbalize where I think that the district needs to go. You also have an entry plan and findings, so, looking at the district in a different lens, or slightly different lens, away from, curriculum assessment, professional development. I found some things that I really feel we need to focus upon, and, those are in the findings. What I did was take this superintendent's rubric, and you have highlighted the aspects that I think are probably, the most important for me going forward. And regardless of what capacity I continue, I think that these are things that the district needs to focus. So there are 4 standards to the superintendent's rubric. Standard 1 is instructional leadership. And within that, I really feel that we need to look at the instructional practices in the diverse learners. We talked about this before on the district moves forward with the strategic plan on looking at universal design for learning and diverse learners, and to look at the practices within the classroom using digital learning and the more student-centered learning environment. And that was my focus there. Standard 2 is on management and operation. And what I've discovered, and what John and I and Mary and Sue have been working on, is there needs to be clear articulation as to responsibility and job duties and expectations for some of the hiring documents. There are many letters of hire that needed to be much more specific, contracts that hadn't been issued that needed to be issued in any variety of areas. And to look with Sue about how we do our professional development and career goals, again, based on the strategic plan. So that's where we're going. Also, the social emotional impact, the PBIS, to make sure that it goes forward, that it is continuing, and it has all of the support and professional development that it needs. Also, the routines, the deadlines that need to be more solidified and articulated, and the communication that needs to go with that. Typically, the buses, the tuition rates, those kinds of things. So that was a rather lively conversation. The third standard is family and community engagement, and obviously we have a great deal of that. It's a big strength in our community. But working with the various committees, it's been enjoyable and enlightening to work with the advisory and capital and board of selectmen, and also with Ted Carroll and the recreation department and Bob Egan, and working through the playgrounds and feeling with Chris Senior as well, a real partnership. Along with that, I feel that the teachers union, Patty Thompson and I have a great relationship. So those are the things that I really want to foster and work through and work together. So that also became a goal. I think we need to become more collaborative and partnership in that. And the fourth is professional culture. And I think that addresses more of the leadership and the leadership goals that we put together on how to agree amiably and how to disagree in an equal fashion, and to carry on the mission, and to make sure that ultimately what we do is align the strategic plan, the leadership goals, the school committee goals, the technology plan, my goals, and in turn, all of the principal and assistant principal goals. So that was my attempt. You have in the packet also an alignment of all those goals. What I did was take the theory of action, which is our mission, the strategic plan, the technology plan, the school committee goals, the leadership goals, and my goals, and align them so they all are going in the same direction and which support which ones. In addition to that, I then transposed my own goals and aligned them with the principal and assistant principal goals and shared it with them last week. As we talked about, we are all going in the same direction. Our big direction is student-centered learning, and part of that is reaching diverse learners, using universal design for learning, the accessibility of technology, making sure that technology is in the hands of students, that we actually see collaboration, curiosity, and that the leadership grow in its understanding. Principal Connolly just came back yesterday from a 3-day conference with William Daggett, who is our mentor for curriculum and rigor in San Diego, and that was part of that same kind of mission, where she will come back and share much of that and review with us some of the aspects that are very valuable. I also asked that she come back from this conference with some indication on what we can use when we study the middle school, which is also one of the huge goals. I met with Assistant Principal Carrie Sandler and Sue Skeever, Carolyn Connolly, and we outlined where we would like the study for the middle school to go. What we're looking for, what kind of reporting in grade 6, what kind of grouping, looking at what is a well-oiled, well-functioning middle school. And what does that look like, and combine it with Mary's report on the Walker report for special needs students. So that is a huge piece. So I have 6 goals. The first, obviously, is to work in, focus the priorities of the goals that I've outlined. The second is to obviously continue in this cohort of learning the superintendent's roles and all of that encounters, and includes 8 little trips to great little Marlborough. And very enjoyable, very
Convenient.
very convenient, very early traffic jam. 3 was the management, and that I explained, looking at contracts, letters, deadlines, revising some of the things. For example, sometimes we hire it very early in the year, and it's a quick kind of letter, looking those over and outlining the responsibilities and expectations and who to answer to whom. I've also had conversations with, particularly with Lisa Farrell, about looking over job descriptions and having discussions with people about, this is your responsibility, this is the accountability, and so on. The 4th goal, obviously, I just kind of said collaboratively with the town. And studying the middle school and the literacy at Osgood Deerfield. And I understand that those are many goals, but I've always had many goals, so I'm sure they're achievable, and I hope to report to you on a monthly basis, as I have this time, with documents that move toward that goal. I think I've sent you some documents already.
Yeah.
Hopefully with the laptops you can set up a little file folder and put them in, and I'll be there. So if you have any questions, I will gladly answer.
Do you mind just for the community, just reading out the goals that everybody
Sure.
in the room,
I just didn't
'cause
want
we've
to.
had a lot of time, and there is a ton of material that we've gone through, so just everybody hears them once.
You're so comfortable.
Thanks so much.
They're SMART goals, so that means that they're specific, they're measurable, they're action-oriented, and they're tracked and result-oriented. So the first goal is focusing on the identified priorities of the strategic plan and technology plan. Implement more universal design for learning instruction opportunities, incorporating digital learning tools. And what I plan to do is to work with leadership team to identify focus areas from the district plans, and set various goals for focus on instructional. That includes visiting classrooms, giving feedback to the principals on specific pieces of the curriculum or instructional practices that we feel is routine in what we want to see and how we improve. So have actually rich dialogues on what do we want to see in the classroom, what is it that we both share as a common either concern or strength. And it's to have at least 10 classroom visits before May to assess those programs. The second goal is student learning, and it's given the data regarding the number of middle school students moving into private education, given the observation of lecturing time in various classrooms, and given the need for more meaningful interdisciplinary curriculum in grades 6 to 8, the following goal: to supervise and advise in the study of the structure, instructional practices, expertise of staff regarding middle school teaching and learning, and assessment procedures in regard to research-based structure for a model middle school. And that's going to be accomplished by organizing, and we've already started that, a group of middle school staff to work with the Director of Student Services and the Assistant Principal of the middle school to assess the grading practices, especially in grade 6, hopefully looking at standards-based reporting in some sort, the organization of the middle school structure, the delivery of instruction as all relates to the development stage of this age group, and research regarding the effective middle schools. That includes visits to other schools, that includes membership in the Middle School Association, that is finding research so that the staff, the entire staff, works towards understanding what a middle school classroom and what a middle school learner actually is. And if any of you know my background, that is my passion, having taught 7th grade for a number of years. And using the data and the requested Walker report to evaluate the delivery of special education services at the middle school, and to evaluate the engagement of students with regard to digital learning, collaboration, mastery of proficiency skills, and implementation of universal design for learning for reaching diverse learners. Goal number 3. Goal 4 more. Actually, district improvement is to establish clear documentation of job responsibilities and expectations, and establish strong due dates and responsible behavior by staff. Enough said?
Yep.
Yes.
Yes.
And I was gonna add "and community" at the end of that statement, because some of it's deadlines of parents.
I'm not in charge of them.
I know.
That's right. 4 was district improvement, family, community. It's to develop collaborative relationships with municipal committee members, school committee, leadership team, families, and community. And it's to attend a majority of collaborative meetings with the town manager, school committee chair, and board of selectmen. Thank you. And to keep school committee members and town manager informed on all major events involving the school district. To conduct regular meetings with union president, which I've already done, and to conduct regular leadership team meetings with productive communication and shared discussion, and to inform and update community members in various municipal groups through the various modes of communication. Part of that, and it was very enlightening and pleasurable for me to attend the department chair meeting at the town the other day, and it was wonderful to put names and faces together. So it was also interesting to find out how everything works and what everyone is doing, so it was great. 5 is to participate in the new superintendent's induction program. And the induction program involves a mentor who has been remarkable. Jim Marini has attended school committee. He's also lately has walked through the building with me on observing classrooms and really being a good sounding board on how I perceive the instructional practices happening and am I on the right track, and he's been a great question person, so leading me to really ask the right questions and go in the right direction. So I have no doubt that's going to be accomplished. And goal 6 was to maintain the movement of the district during the year of change by working with principals and the leadership team toward progress in the FY17 focus areas of district strategic plan. And that is basically to keep our eye on the prize to look at the strategic plan and know where it is, where it's been, why it was established, and where we need to go with it. And that was the first step, was putting this chart together on how we all align. So, I will entertain any questions. I read really quickly. I'll answer any questions.
I'll just comment.
Okay, you start.
Yeah, no, Amanda and I, as Louise said, you know, have had a few meetings with Louise on the goals. Something important that she said, I just wanna make sure everyone understands, is to keep the artifacts that she sends us for evaluation purposes. Unlike in the past, where there's been a vote that we come in and look at. So she's gonna be sending us those updates for us to make our comments on. We'll all have a Louise folder on our desktops.
I'll send my picture.
I already have one.
We're also going to have to determine at some future date a mid-cycle evaluation, which is just really an update of where the goals are, where she stands on the actions taken and the benchmarks, and how she would anticipate them being fulfilled by the end of the year. We did try to talk her out of all 6 goals. But
You did.
yeah, but she wasn't, you know, very confident that she could achieve all 6. And I'll just reiterate what she said, and I'm sorry for being redundant, but it's very gratifying to see all of the district goals, the strategic plan, the technology plan, the school committee goals, the superintendent goals, and the building leadership goals all aligning, not perfectly, but aligning and moving in the same direction. It isn't something I've seen before like this, and it's the way it should be. And it keeps us all on the same path towards the same end run, which is giving our kids the best education that we possibly can.
Thank you.
And just, I have to say also that it's been remarkable to watch the way, I mean, obviously you've been in the district for a while, so you've been watching from the sidelines and seen some things, but after you stepped into this role and started identifying areas that you thought needed improvement, you've kind of taken the bull by the horns and you've rolled it all into goals that make sense for all of us to see. And it's been a very short time, but the difference in the district is already noticed.
Thank you, I won't sleep. Barbara?
Yeah, no, I just really appreciated this document. I was like, wow, she really has sliced and diced this a whole bunch of different ways. And like you said, it's really nice to see everything aligned so that you feel like you really know where everybody is and what they're striving for, from the building leadership, you know, up to what the strategic goals are as a district. And I thought your goals were really thoughtful. I felt that they were, I agree with what you identified as the strengths and areas of what to work on, and just being also a former middle school teacher and having a lot of passion for what goes on in classrooms and how instruction is delivered. And I noticed that I just so appreciated the really looking at and considering trying to make it more as student-centered as possible. I even saw project-based learning in there, which I found very exciting. So I just I thought it was a great document, and
I do want to say that, not to interrupt you, I do want to say that the middle school is a great place.
Mhm.
Every middle school in the entire country, entire world, gets a target.
yes, it does.
Because it's that messy age. And it's working. It's just that I don't think in the 8 years that I've been here, we've looked at it. We've looked at the high school, we've had an assessment, but we really need to look at the middle school learner today. And are we really meeting those needs? Middle school is the time to set the fire. Like, wow, I really love being here, I've really bonded with the teachers, and I think it's happening. We just need to look at, is this the best? And that's where my goal came in, and the literacy obviously has been what I hear from the community, as was the middle school. It was a response to people I'd spoken to.
And I didn't mean to say that I thought that the middle school had a particular weakness or anything, but I think looking at your practice, no matter what you're doing, and whether if you're an Olympic gold medalist, you're not just
Right.
gonna sit there and be like, I'm awesome, this is
Right.
great. You're gonna always sit and try to improve
Try to
and
figure
figure
out
out,
ways to
yeah,
improve.
reflect and,
I just needed to
Yeah,
articulate
so
that.
I just
It's not
wanted-
because it's broken, it's because we really need,
Right.
as our practice, to review.
Yes.
Two things, cause I agree with everything that's been said. I found the entry plan very, very compelling. I think it, demonstrates that you're a listener and that you will take the time, to, sit down with people and understand their perspective, and you did an amazing job, I think, of kind of pulling together a short list of what the district's strengths are, but also the challenges, and reading through that as kind of the first document gave me a really good understanding of not only some of the perspectives I had, but perspectives of the broader community. So thank you for taking the time to do that, cause I think in addition to the bigger strategic and technology plans that we have in place, this gives us yet another platform to look at ourselves, or another lens to look at ourselves through, and you've clearly incorporated some of that, including the comments about early literacy and the middle school as a piece of that. So thank you, 'cause that to me was a powerful piece of the overall documentation. The second thing is just making sure that we communicate this out to the community. I know that there's people here tonight, we've got Amanda in the corner who hopefully will do a nice article at some point for us around the goals, but have you given any thought as to how we might further communicate this?
I was too busy writing.
I know.
Actually, it was, when you say listening, the community's an interesting place, so it was great to listen to the different perspectives. So it was easy to write, because people were very candid, which helps a writer. I had great materials.
We are engaged.
And I thought that
Absolutely.
I know it's a great document to share. The furthest I have gone with this is leadership, because I really feel that they're a strong group, and they're a very talented and intelligent group. I think it's something to share with the community, starting with probably the Board of Selectmen. I think that the leadership in the community needs to know where we're going, and Capital certainly, because it has an impact. Some of the study at the middle school, some of it at Osgood Deer Hill, and the social emotional pieces may certainly have a budgetary impact. Because when we start looking at the Blocker report and its recommendations for special education delivery, and when we start looking at universal design for learning and digital learning, it may also have a budgetary priority. So I think that having the document, for me, makes conversations more realistic and more objective. And having been a writing teacher, I always try to be as objective as I can, so it's always my motive to say, am I clear, and is this in sound reason? So I think it's worth sharing.
Yep. Okay. I don't know what we've done in the past in terms of sharing superintendent's goal, besides just having a school committee meeting about it. I think a Mariner article would be a good start. I think that obviously sharing it with in your meetings with Chris Senior and Kevin McCarthy.
And we have a meeting next week,
Okay.
so we will do that.
Okay.
And Louise, maybe you could prepare a little cover memo to go with it, so that
I'm
we
not doing jazz.
Kevin, you have a question?
Also too, let me know when you wanna come before the Board of Selectmen. You can come and make a presentation as Louise suggested, if you wanna, and we'll put you on the agenda, and that'll give further exposure to it.
Okay,
And
that's
it
great.
would also be very good, I think, to have the Board of Selectmen see all of this, cause it does
Right.
have budgetary impact, so we can discuss it next week, but just let me know when you wanna go on our agenda.
Right. So if you could, as I said, put together just a brief overview of, an explanation of what follows.
Sure.
And then we can share with Kevin and Chris on Wednesday, next Wednesday. The 9th, at our regular meeting, and then we can figure out, when we might have a chat with the Board of Selectmen.
Check the calendar. Did you say the 9th?
The 9th, 4:45.
Yes.
needs to be a 30,000-foot view
Yeah.
of this as
Right.
opposed to
Summary.
all of this detail that
Yeah.
we can, you know, help you with, or I can work on a draft and send it to you, and I can work on something,
Okay.
and, cause it's a lot of information, and I don't know if we want the message to get, we want the message to be clear.
Yeah.
I agree,
About-
I think there's a great deal of background,
Mm-hmm.
Right.
reaching my goals, which is really for you.
Mm-hmm.
And the goals themselves articulate themselves as an impact.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Right, and we
Okay.
use the term executive summary a lot lately.
Yeah.
That's probably what we're looking for. And I think that if it gets too cumbersome, people don't constantly, you know, they check out after they get to
Yeah.
I'll
one
try
or
to make
two.
it very concise.
So I think that if we can kind of communicate what the main structure of the goals are, I think that would be a great thing to do. Okay? And then,
I do think that's the right level to communicate
Mhm.
to, frankly, the broader community and, other committees. Because
Yep.
getting into why we choose certain indicators within the broader superintendent
Right,
rubrics
right.
is, but I think there's thematically, when you look at it, the digital learning, the diverse learners, the middle school, the early literacy, and, a lot of the culture and operational pieces, just thematically, if we could kind of tease those out for people so that they know the headlines
Mhm.
as to what Louise and then in turn the team is focused on.
right. And Louise had mentioned also that, you tried to get her to scale back on her goals, but, that she identified that some of these goals will possibly be just keep going. Because obviously, making sure that the district is working behind the scenes is just as important as educating students. So I think this is great. I think that we need to approve the goals and let her start or continue her work.
I think it's important when I put these goals together, and the reason I really wanted to align them with everyone's goals is it's the belief that I have about teachers as well. Teachers will do whatever is needed in the classroom once the door shuts, and I wanna make sure that whatever door shuts or opens, everybody's still on the same page and it keeps going in that direction. So it is a one direction train for me, so it's not that it was to impress, it was to really
No,
zero in.
absolutely. You zeroed in on some areas that really needed to be strengthened.
Thank you.
And I think that the way you've aligned it all is remarkable, and thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So, do we have any other comments? Okay. So, I would like to, have a motion to approve Louise's goals.
So moved.
And do we have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you. Okay, so the next item on the agenda is school committee comments and communications. And, I do have several housekeeping items, things that have come up over the last few days that I just need to check off, but we're gonna do emergency plans first. And then I have 5 items that I'd like to discuss briefly. So emergency plans, do we wanna, it's a second read, do we wanna read it out loud? No? Okay, no, I know we didn't, but I didn't know if, does anybody have any more comments?
Thank you.
No? Thanks, Amanda.
Thank you, have a good night, everybody.
You too. No comments? No.
No.
I think it's pretty concise. It's nice that it's just one page,
Thank you.
because it's pretty clearly outlined.
Is it something I said?
No, we didn't even have minutes to approve
I know,
tonight,
right?
and people left.
Feelings are getting hurt.
So,
comments, no questions, no corrections, so, I would like a motion to approve emergency plans policy, file EBC,
So moved?
and I will second.
I'll second.
No, I said I'll second.
you'll second, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
I'm giving you a break.
I'm zoning out for a second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, that's great. So if we can just do, we may have some subcommittee information, but if we could just do these updates, these little housekeeping things. First, I had mentioned to Louise when we were talking about, the realignment of all the social media aspects and, you know, making sure that the website is up to date and, I had mentioned to her that previously, we always had a picture of the school committee on the front page of the school committee page. So I would like to reinstitute that, not at this meeting.
Can I get a little warning?
Next
I'll
week.
take a picture. I'm always behind the camera.
No, so, and also, I find it a little bit disjointed that each of us has our own little page on identifying us on the website. It's kinda odd. There is, the front page lists all of us, but then there's a page for me, there's a page for you, there's a page for Ellen, it's strange.
Put a
So-
picture of your new dog up there.
Yeah, I'll put a picture of Stella on the website. So I would like to make those slight changes. So that was just, it was mostly the picture because I figured somebody would object, Ellen. I
What
didn't
is
know it
on
would
the,
you.
what is there for content under each of us?
Just,
our
just,
contact.
just our
Just our
contact
contact,
information.
yeah, so it could all be on one page,
And that should
so you don't have
be
to
on
click.
one page.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's strange, we appear and then to get our contact information, you have to click
Click.
and then it's just your
Yeah,
name.
it's just weird.
yeah, that's a little tedious,
So we
yeah.
need to fix that.
Okay.
So that's number one. I also received a message, he and I have been trading phone calls for 5 days, from Glenn Pratt, who is a member of the committee to, celebrate the 250th anniversary of the town. And he wants to engage the schools in those celebrations, which it's still 3 years off. But he is looking for a liaison to that committee to go to the meetings and help kind of, figure out, figure out, you know, where we're gonna go with the celebration and how we can participate in it. So I told him that I would request a participant from the school committee. So if anybody, think about it until the next meeting, we have some time. He did say that he would send me some information. I asked for information from the previous, I think he said they've had a couple of meetings. So I did ask for information from those meetings and he's going to send it to me. So I should have more information at our next meeting.
Just out of curiosity, did they tend to meet at night or day?
That's a good question because he started calling me during the day and I was calling him back on his number that he left me, but it was his work number. And I was at home, so I'm leaving messages on him.
Not that that'd
Joy
make or break,
Pratt
but.
Shipman is, I believe she's the chair
Okay.
of the committee. And since I participated in the 200th anniversary gala parade,
did.
I've done my duty for the town.
Oh, you don't wanna do it?
No,
Okay.
it's on a float.
Wow.
All the neighborhoods put floats together, yeah.
Oh, that's cute.
I think my main question for
That will
Glenn
be your picture.
is the time of meeting,
Yeah.
just because more night
I
meetings
think he
is-
said monthly. I think he said it was one meeting a month.
Okay.
So
Until
we'll,
it ramps up.
yeah, until we, clearly
Until
we've
maybe somebody builds
experienced
a
that.
3 years
It's
out.
3 years out, okay,
Until they've got the Rose Parade going and,
I
you know.
might be interested in that, but
Okay.
to know that.
All right,
Okay.
so just think about it, and as I said, once I get
Love my
information,
history.
we'll distribute it prior to the next meeting.
I'll get you the book, I still have the, they did a program book, I still have it from the 200.
I don't wanna claim it in case anyone else is being passionate, but if it works.
Well, at
out.
least we got Ellen out of Ellen's cleared the path for the rest of us.
Rock, paper, scissors.
Oh,
Exactly.
I think the long range planning group is doing me in, Then I also was contacted by Jen Oram, sorry, my computer keeps timing out. That said, Chris has asked her to reach out to see who from the school committee would like to take part in the annual warrant forum. The way it's worded is kind of funny. In the annual warrant forum. So I guess we've done this before, okay? And it's a recorded program that reviews the warrant articles for town meeting. Chris and people with articles on the warrant review each article for the public. It will be taped and rerun on 143 TV. The forum will be taking place on Tuesday, November 15th at 7 p.m. here in this room. If you want to ask your committee members who would like to attend and get back to me, that would be great. Once I know who's coming, I will send an Outlook invite. So I would suggest that it's somebody who's very well versed in the SPED stabilization fund. This is a one-shot deal. You know, it's get together, converse on the warrant article, explain the ins and outs. So it's pretty clear who it needs to be.
That's right, I'm already double booked on the evening of the 15th, so.
Oh, geez.
No, but that's fine, I will, I'm happy to do that on the 15th. There is a, Safe Harbor Coalition thing that night that I think it would be helpful to have coverage on, so maybe, I don't know, Ellen, if you can do that. And then the other thing was a CF, kickoff for their capital campaign, but I'll just do that, I'll go that afterwards.
Okay.
A cocktail.
I don't think that this will be long. Maybe we could even request that we be first on that and it's recorded. So it's not, I'm not getting the impression that it's live.
It's like an hour, no, it's not live, and it's like
It's an hour commitment.
15 minutes.
No, that's fine, I'm
Whole thing.
happy to do
It's
that, and I think last time it was literally, a handful of selectmen, somebody from advisory, I'm happy to represent school committee, and they literally went through the warrants, had a brief chat about them, and that
Okay.
was that.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Katie.
Okay. And then I wanted to touch base on conference attendance. I didn't know who's going what day. I'm going on Wednesday and Thursday. Louise, did you say
Wednesday and
and Friday?
I'll be there Wednesday and Thursday.
Okay.
I'm gonna be there Thursday and Friday.
I'm trying to work in afternoons on Thursday and Friday.
Okay.
I can't take any time off. You going down and staying over?
Yes. Yeah, I can't be going back and forth, you know, and we have travel coming up on Friday that's separate, so it'll just be easier for me to do that. And Barbara, you gonna go this year?
Yeah, I'm,
You still trying to figure it out? I know, last year was crazy.
Well, it's just won't even go into, it's birthday fest this week in my house, so
Okay.
I've just got to
All right,
yeah.
I mean, it's not a commitment, I was just
No,
trying to
I was-
figure out who I
I was
might
gonna
have to
try
look
to go
for,
on 3 days.
on what days?
For the first half.
Yeah, I'll text you when I get down.
Okay, all right, great.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm gonna be there, I was gonna try to go all of them, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday,
Uh-huh,
but we'll see.
okay.
I'm
Right.
going down and back, so I'm gonna be, and it's sort of, some of my schedule depends on whether Dave is home or not
Yeah.
Uh-huh,
on Thursday night.
okay. I'm fascinated by the guest speaker on Wednesday night, it's Liz Walker. I think she's a very powerful speaker, so I'm looking forward to that. I don't usually sign up for the meals at this conference, they're pretty standard rubber chicken.
Right.
Oh, thank you for that. You signed up for dinner.
Well, I signed up for dinner too, for Wednesday, just because it would be easier to be there.
Right.
But, there are several other places in the area that are quite lovely, so you won't starve. And then, let's see, I have a personal request. Our next meeting is scheduled for the 16th, and I have a family conflict at 6 o'clock. And I wanted to see if we could perhaps push the meeting start time to 7:30 instead of 7, or maybe have it on Tuesday night instead, but that conflicts with two
Choose a night,
things that you
choose a night
have
on my
here.
camera.
Fully booked.
Exactly.
You are fully booked.
So we can't, the room won't be available on the
Yeah,
15th?
so, yes, it wouldn't be available on the 15th anyway, and I didn't know that when I realized that this is going on.
7:30 is fine with me.
That's fine, that's
I
fine.
can do 7:30 though.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's have
Can we make it 8?
What's on our agenda?
It's like an auction.
I know.
What's the agenda?
No, because when I read the invitation, I realized that this event that I need to go to, which, again, you know, my kids' stuff shouldn't come up, but my daughter's a senior, and I wanna go to this. And if it's at 8 o'clock, I can fully participate in both things, because it's not in Cohasset, believe it or not.
What about Thursday the 17th?
I have a conflict that night.
That's National Honor Society.
That's
the
17th.
17th.
What's our, what's the agenda looking like?
Do we know what the agenda for that meeting looks like?
My concern is 8 o'clock makes John's travel, my travel.
Yeah, I know.
Very long.
I know. So if we can split the difference and make it 7:30,
If it's a short agenda,
Yeah.
we can probably,
okay.
I think 'cause we're, yeah. Can make an effort to move it along with it too.
I have to say, I've never missed a meeting in 8 years, so thank you for moving the time.
so
Keep your perfect attendance going.
Yeah,
we're leaving it at the 16th, moving it to what time?
7:30. And if I'm not here for the Pledge of Allegiance, I'm sure that my vice chair can handle the call to order.
It says
and-
the MCAS report is for that day.
Yeah, I really wanna participate in those things, but I just,
That
That
just-
may make it a long meeting.
Yeah, that's
It's just
exactly,
me.
that's my
yeah,
point.
so we'll keep it 7:30. And, as I said, if I may be 15 minutes late,
On budget process.
just because this event is
That's fine.
outside of Cohasset, unfortunately.
So maybe we strip it down to the key stuff, which is
Mhm.
MCAS and AP, and as we've talked about before, if we needed to, we could always throw in an extra meeting to catch up after Thanksgiving. Like, I would rather have a focus meeting that tackles AP and MCAS on the 16th, and then if we have business to conduct, we could always throw in an extra meeting to just conduct the business if we needed to.
Okay. So do we have calendars so that we can look and see if we, you know, like the 30th maybe? If we have unfinished business from the,
I'm
From
happy
the
to hold the
16th?
30th,
Okay.
and that's what I'm asking.
yeah,
What's Deer Hill Circus? Is that an evening
that's
event?
Friday,
Okay.
the 2nd.
Okay. Oh, it says Circus Week. I don't
It's Circus Week,
know
yeah,
what that means, so.
they,
I know they
during
have like.
gym class, they do circus.
Okay, so it's not at night.
The only thing that's at night is Friday for 5th graders is when the actual performance is, so unless you have a
okay, so
5th
it's grade
grader,
5. Okay, I'm good then.
you're good.
I'm okay for the 30th.
Okay. Amanda?
Yep.
Okay. All right, so if there's anything that we know is going to be particularly long, we could move it to the 30th then. Okay, thank you. And I think that's it. Conference attendance, yes. So, next is report from subcommittees or school committee. And does anybody have anything to report?
A couple things.
Okay.
Just a couple quick updates. CPAC, and there are flyers, at the door, is having a program, next Wednesday, November 9th. It is, around executive function. It's called the Homework Battles, and it is, involving a presenter, David Murphy, who is a, consultant who's gonna come in and talk about executive function and how that relates to homework and homework battles. So that is from 7 to 9 and it's in the community use room. Then second was Safe Harbor actually has 2 events that are coming up. One is next Thursday, November 10th at 7 p.m. at Wolcott, the Senior Center. It's another speaker series focused on parents. It's called Under Construction, What Every Parent Must Know About Your Tween Teens Brain Development, and it's a talk by Dr. Ruth Potee.
Mm-hmm.
So that is next Thursday, and then just came out today. There is another Safe Harbor. This is actually an open meeting, open coalition meeting. It's on Tuesday, November 15th at 6:30 p.m. And it's at the Second Congregational Church. And they're having Andrew Stevens, who is a community member but also the principal of Duxbury High School, come in and talk about Duxbury facts and some of the. He's giving honest insights about what has worked and not worked in Duxbury as it relates to alcohol and substance abuse. I think last spring he had written I don't know if it was an open letter, but he had written a letter to parents at the high school regarding students showing up at Duxbury school-related events under the influence, and it was a pretty powerful letter that got picked up in the Duxbury local news, but it was also out there on Facebook. So I think that's part of the reason that not only is he a Cohasset resident, but because of that, he's been asked by Safe Harbor in our town to come and speak. So those are my two updates on CPAC and Safe Harbor.
Can I have a quick comment
Yeah.
on that? So I got that, I opened my, I think there was a Blackboard Connect. I don't know if it was just a Blackboard Connect or one of the, from the schools came out about the, is it Dr. Poti or?
Yeah.
Anyway, coming to speak, and it sort of said Safe Harbor speaker, and here's the link, and then it said like Poti, flyer.
Yeah.
So just from, I did open it, and then I was like, wow, that's really interesting, understanding the tween brain, but if I hadn't, it wasn't marketed very well. I think if it had gone out like Safe Harbor speaker about the tween brain development or something like that, it would probably,
The flyer did go out to the entire staff, though. It did go out to the principals.
so anyway, and then I was just thinking, just depending on how the CPAC one goes out, I think Homework Wars, instead, yours usually go out pretty detailed, but just depending on who sends it out, instead of just CPAC presentation tonight at 7, Homework Wars, CPAC presentation, Homework Wars.
So I created a flyer for
Yeah.
it, and I attached it to PDF, so that's been on our Facebook page and on our website. And I just needed it to pop this year, because those plain old, this is what's happening, people need to
Yeah.
know that this is a big deal.
You're pretty good at your marketing, I'd say.
That's my wheelhouse.
But at any rate, yeah, there's some really good, interesting ones coming up.
Well, these are perfect things to quickly, since they're already on the CPAC Facebook site, already has the homework battles. All it literally, Louise, all somebody has to do is reshare it to the district
did.
one,
Yeah,
along with the Safe Harbor one. So those are easy.
both of them have gone out.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So that's great. And then the only other, just quick update, Jean and I were at the long range planning group last Thursday along with John. We had a discussion regarding the 5-year forecast model, and Jack Kennelly, who's on the Board of Selectmen, presented a straw man for discussion around how he sees the planning and budgeting process from a town perspective that involves all departments, of which the schools is one of them, running. I think he was trying to put just a little bit more process and timelines around it, so it was a good conversation. I don't think that there were any large objections. I think we recognize that perhaps the process from 5 or 6 years ago has kind of frayed around the edges, and now is the time to kind of, over the next year or two, work ourselves back into, like you have noted, stricter deadlines and holding ourselves to them. So that was a good conversation. Chris Senior also did a review of some of the historical trends in some of the key inputs to that forecast model. Our next meeting is November 10th, where I think we'll continue to do some deep dive on that. I think there's a recognition that, from the parties that even sit around that table, there's varying levels of understanding on that forecast model. And it's certainly good to see the historical trends, so that we can make more informed decisions regarding that. At some point in the next, I would say 6 to 8 weeks, that forecast model is going to solidify for FY18, and is going to give us a revenue allocation target, our year-over-year increase. So we have to be cognizant that that is coming down the pike, and that will obviously inform and shape our budget process and budget conversations.
It was interesting to note that they kept saying that we got 69% of the budget, so I'm wondering if that's in the plan.
Sixty-one, 69.
It was just
60
funny how
percentage points on
it
tens
kept
of millions.
slipping out of the mouth, and it was just kind of funny
keep
that we kept
saying
saying,
it
no,
and
it's
it'll
only
happen."
61.
One of the things that we did talk about, and I brought samples of, there are larger communities like Lexington and North Andover that go through a rigorous budget process. They also have standing finance committees, which I think really do some of the heavy lifting on that, along with the larger town staff. But it was just emblematic of the fact that they have budget documents that they produce for the whole town, including the schools, that document quite a bit of the historical financial information where, you know, today, if you're trying to get up to speed as a community member, you have to go find the CAFR. Even if you knew that was to exist, you have to go find the annual town report, and each of those reports only gives you 1 year of history, so then you have to go and try and collect, you know, a couple of years of history in order to get some perspective. So the really powerful piece of this, in terms of what the long range planning group, if we can get our process back in order, one of the commitments of this group is to begin to document and collect in a OneDrive and possibly even in kind of a budget document for the community, a lot of the financial information, so that it's not, you know, I know when I started to get up to speed, it was like recreating the wheel, and we should have something that as a community, people can look to understand our budget processes.
Right, and looking back, you know, when I first was on the school committee, technology hadn't even evolved for us to share information with people, with other groups, with even the town manager. So we've made a huge strides in the last 6 years. It's amazing to see what we do now and what used to get done back then.
Well, and to that point, you know, now that we all have the MacBook Airs and if we get our own OneDrive or Google Docs, we can start storing what we've been doing on a shared drive, get them off our personal computers, and I was thinking we probably should come up with a naming convention so that for whomever is sitting in these seats at whatever point in time in the future, you can go back and you can see, you know, everything over a period of time, you know, all the work that we've been done, because it would be awful for whenever I leave, for me to leave without all the stuff I've done, you know, or all the stuff we've all done, so.
Right. There's been an amazing amount of work done just in the last 2 years that before you rolled off the school committee and maybe you would get the previous person's binders or whatever they had, paperwork. But typically, you know, a lot of the things that we have don't really need to be kept because they're part of school committee packets, which are historical data that are retained in the superintendent's office, in the business office. So it would be a terrible thing for all of this hard work to go away when people.
Yeah, when we roll over.
So I'm happy to take a crack at doing kind of a table of contents for discussion in terms of creating maybe a OneDrive or a Google Drive section for the school committee, so that we can begin to slot some of our work product into. Because I know, I mean, I have lots of information from previous collective bargaining negotiations that should go somewhere.
Right.
And we should all, we should, you know, follow a convention so that, you know, I think the FY year is probably the first couple of places in the name, and then we can figure out the rest.
So
Just so it's consistent.
I'll quickly draft something up and we can look at it, and then we can just implement it. I'm sure that like everything, every once in a while we need a good cleaning, but at least it gets the information in a central location.
Right.
Right, and Louise, you had mentioned something about maybe having a training for the school
Yes.
committee so that we're all on the same page, we understand the product that we're using, and I personally have never used Google Docs,
I haven't either.
so.
If one uses Word, then Google Docs is easy to move.
Right.
We are a Google district,
Right.
so it would behoove us to use a Google Drive.
Yep.
And Sue has already been lined up to give us a workshop.
Okay.
And I can
Great.
do the Microsoft, so
Great.
between the two of us, we will get you up to speed.
Okay, terrific.
I just need to know the time, and she claims about an hour, so at some school committee meeting, if we wanna meet the hour before, and she can do some of that.
Okay.
Or you might want, where you have more time to play after, so an hour.
Yeah, we might wanna do, we've done like a little retreat type of thing where,
Right.
Yeah.
you know, we have something, a little something to eat, we sit around, we do, you know, we learn the product, and we do have time for question and answer. We might not wanna do it before school committee.
You might
I-
wanna do it where you can actually practice after.
Yeah, I hate to rush through something like that, because we're fearful that we have people sitting here waiting for us
That's
and
probably
cutting
a
us
good thing.
short.
And then, you're right, that's probably just an isolated workshop that we can do both.
Right.
She claims an hour, Google Docs is not very difficult.
Is there a way to
Right?
plan
Yeah.
that sort of sooner rather than later?
Yes, if I know your availability, I'll have Jennifer send out an invitation to everybody.
Okay,
Possibly the next
So,
couple of weeks.
next couple of weeks.
great, okay.
Okay, are we done with that topic?
That particular topic, yes, but
Yep, okay, so,
the other one.
the Cohasset Middle High School School Council met last week, October 25th. It was the first meeting of the year. Carolyn led the meeting and laid out the charge for what, she actually had printed out exactly what a school council was supposed to be doing, which was interesting. And, so this is my second year on it as the school committee liaison, and I was on the school council when John Marr was in high school, so that was a long, long time ago.
On a
And-
float, on a committee.
I know.
You're a
Ages.
seated historian.
I know. So what's great is she has two students who are committed to attend the school council. One is a junior, one is a senior, and that's gonna be her model going forward, is so that there's always someone who's been through it and bringing someone else in. And, we only got through the first goal of the school improvement plan, which was, social emotional learning, and we had quite an interesting conversation, segueing back to the conversation about middle school. But one of the students talked about how difficult it was for him as a student in middle school to talk to teachers, to let them know, to let their first he didn't feel like he had anyone to talk to, that he didn't have a relationship with a teacher like he does in high school, and part of that too is just the age and the awkwardness and the the position of authority as you change from elementary school into junior high school or middle school. It's a little different. He didn't feel the guidance counselor was the person to talk to either, and how anxiety filled that period of time was. That's what he remembers about being in the 6th and the 7th grade. He said by the time he got to 8th grade, he was feeling more comfortable in his own skin, and then he gets to high school and it starts all over again. He goes, "You're in Cohasset, you have to get A's." He says that's just the way it is at the high school. That's how they feel.
The whole peer pressure thing.
The whole, yep. So it was a very, very interesting conversation. We talked about how do you teach kids to advocate for themselves? When does being sensitized to children in the middle school level, when do you need to turn as the adult in the relationship into, how do I say this, not enabling the sensitivity, but developing it into resiliency. Dealing with life setbacks as they come and coming out of them stronger, because it's okay to have setbacks in life. So it was very, very good. It was, a quick meeting, 1 hour. We could have, I think, sat there and talked for a long time. A lot of interesting parents were there. Carolyn reiterated that the school council's charge is to examine the student parent handbook for any updates and changes, to discuss the budget priorities, and to monitor the school improvement plan for its progress and develop one for the following year. So it was, there were teachers, there were parents, there were students. It was a good meeting.
One question, Ellen?
Mm-hmm.
Was there any conversation or sharing of the parent survey? Because I actually found that parent survey that Caroline did for first time in a while.
Mm-hmm.
Super informative, so I would, I don't know if she plans on sharing that with the new, cause I don't know how much of the membership has changed in terms of the middle high school, school council.
Yeah, the faculty is the same, the parents were new.
It came out so
Yeah.
late, and I'm not sure
Yeah.
that, to me, that was a really powerful document, so I would encourage her to, I know that she doesn't always get the highest response rates, but it was a good touch point.
Okay, I'll follow up with her on that. I think because the parent component and the student component was so new, she did spend a lot of time laying out what a school council is and
Yeah.
what their function is.
Yeah.
And then we got involved and like I said, that conversation about middle school anxiety, but I will follow up on that.
Just have a question, maybe a little bit for Louise too, just when you say, it's Cohasset, you have to get A's, and it just gets back to students feeling like they're in this very narrow way of being measured, and I'm talking about universal design for learning and reaching different types of learners. I'm just wondering how much, and talking about self-advocacy, how, like, when or if do students start becoming aware that there are different types of ways to, there are different people learn in different ways, and it doesn't mean one way is necessarily better, and that they're in sort of a structure that sort of values a certain way of learning often, but to maybe be able to recognize that, to give them some perspective, and to also look at the places that they are being successful, to maybe hopefully alleviate some of that kind of stress. But
I think it's in the neophyte phase.
Right.
I know that Carolyn is conducting her staff meetings in a universal design for learning format. She has sent out the information to staff ahead of time via media. She has a visual presentation, she has sticky notes on the table, and so she has also other worksheets that are available. And at the end of her faculty meeting, she does explain to them that this is universal design for learning. It is, are you a visual? Do you need some independent time to read it and digest it, or do you have to have sticky notes where you can ask questions in format? And that's going out to staff, and it's universal design for learning is a learning curve. What we found is when Carolyn and I visited a cluster of classrooms, we just looked at it and said, okay, so how can we get some universal design for learning in it? And we looked at the bell ringer, which is what kids come in to organize themselves in a middle school, and said, this is the minute. So it's just a 3-minute universal design for learning that happens. Mike Welch obviously has that corner where he's already conquered it. I mean, there are various ways to explain expertise. I think over time, you're going to see, over this year, you're going to see a good deal of the proficiency can be explained in a different way, and hopefully that starts with teachers giving students choices to show mastery. So I want to do a sculpture that shows you that I can do this, or I need to write a research, but I'd also like to do a video, so that there are different ways to show the mastery. But it's a mindset. It's going to be a rather slow-moving cog, but it's happening. And in spots I'm seeing it. It's just going to take a while. So it's going to be
that makes sense. I just think sometimes it's important for students to be reminded repeatedly that there are different, they can be proficient in different ways. I just found it frustrating as a teacher to try to explain to a student, I had a student who was a very weak writer, had a learning disability that made it very difficult for him to get thoughts on paper. But I mean, sometimes we'd start our lessons reading, an article from the New York Times, and man, he could analyze that thing like nobody else in the class. But it was really hard for me to try to make him believe that this was actually an incredibly valuable skill, and at the highest level of your, Bloom's taxonomy or whatever, to be able to.
I think a lot of that is
apply some
going
of
to
that
happen
stuff.
with teachers articulating to students how they individually learn. Is to say to students, please don't give me information auditorily, because I guarantee you I will not remember. I'm a very highly visual learner. I need to see your list. I'm the one who makes a shopping list, leaves it on the table, and comes back with everything. But I need to see it. So those kinds of conversations have to happen where we actually talk with students about what our learning styles are. and-
I think some of those things are really fun conversations to have, like just how you're saying, you know, who can, you know, do you have to have a list with you, or if you see the list, can you remember it, or do you remember things and they're color coded, just, I don't know, those kind of things I feel like students love talking about, so.
Louise
Anyway.
had invited, Kate, well, all of us were invited, but Katie
Oh,
and I
yeah.
actually attended the leadership meeting, and, Louise has been doing, do you meet every other week? So
Yes.
an article reading every other week
Correct.
with
Right,
the leadership.
saw it.
I don't know if you had a chance to see that, but they had done a reading about,
Ableism.
ableism, yes, so students with special needs in the classroom, and then now you're reading about cultural diversity and sensitivity.
Right.
So hopefully some of those ideas too will translate coming
Been
from
rich
this leadership meeting.
discussions.
Yeah.
We discussed, our next article is unconscious bias. Are we aware of our own biases?
Mhm.
So those kind of conversations are really rich for a leadership that, and we talk about how do we relate to our staff and our students. Things like we need to continually be cognizant that we are not the only holidays, that there are others, and that, you know, for example, this past holiday is not a good holiday for everyone. So there shouldn't be costumes everywhere. There are people who find that offensive or religiously inappropriate. So to be that sensitive to our own students and understanding our own biases. And so it's been a very lively discussion.
Yeah.
So we're getting there, and universal design for learning will be one of them as well.
Big side tracks.
Amanda, did you get a notice about Alternative Energy Committee? There's a meeting on the 14th, and I noticed that you were not on the distribution, so I
do
wrote-
have it noted in my calendar.
Okay,
so
I
send it
wrote to
over.
Mary Jo just to make sure that you are on the agenda.
Okay.
With the changeover in the leadership in that group.
Yep.
You know, the former chair moved to San Francisco and somebody else has stepped in, so, they're updating their list, so I made sure that you would be on the distribution. So the next alternative energy meeting is the 14th.
Yep.
And then Louise, if you wouldn't mind checking in with Carolyn, last year we had requested student representatives to the Alternative Energy Committee, and there were two young ladies who were seniors. So if she could maybe identify a couple of students who are interested in
James, do you know someone?
sustainability, alternative energy sources, that would be great. We meet once a month. It's on a Monday night, usually the second week of the month. It does shift a little bit, but sure that the committee would appreciate that.
Can I do one update related to the PSO?
Yep.
So just so everybody's aware, this weekend is the Cohasset PSO holiday markets taking place at Deer Hill.
It's all over the Facebook page too.
Okay. So it's 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. and it's up on the Cohasset PSO Facebook page. And there are a couple of signups that need to be done in advance if you'd like your child's cut paper portrait done.
Silhouette.
The silhouette. They were looking for volunteers for the bake sale, as well as there's going to be a holiday card photo booth that requires advanced signing up as well. So if you go through the PSO Facebook page, you can find links to those signups. So it'll be a good event this weekend, 11 to 4.
I was pleased to see some Cohasset Public Schools Facebook posts popping up in my newsfeed too.
Yes,
Coming.
me too, yeah, it was great.
Yeah.
I also have an official Cohasset Twitter account, so friend me.
Look out.
Yeah, I will
Follow
do.
you.
Follow you.
me, sorry.
Follow you.
Don't friend me. Follow me, and I hope to also put any cancellations that are on there on Twitter as well as Facebook. And
Okay, so what's your Twitter handle?
it's hashtag Cohasset Super, I believe.
Hashtag or at?
Oh, it's
At.
Cohasset Super. It's also, you can just do it right from the front, the webpage.
Great.
Right now I only have 8 followers to get busy.
Okay, well, You'll have
Posting
5
on
more
Facebook
after
today.
tonight.
Post it on your Facebook page.
5, 6, 7, 8, we expect you all to follow Louise.
If you look at at the website, you'll find that it's more vibrant. So the color, the blue has become more intense, it's much more attractive to it. It's $4,500 to change the website format. I think it's premature to
Yeah.
even start entertaining that. But they have done a nice job.
Yeah, great. Just adding content will be great.
I did spend an hour or so today changing many of the email addresses that are no longer pertinent, names from the past. So I've been going into many of those and making notations on some blank pages that need to be filled in. Title I is blank, et cetera, and those kinds of things. So we're working through it.
And I saw fresh pictures too, so.
Right.
Yeah.
And,
That's good.
I did meet, and while you're talking PSO, I did meet with the 2 ladies of PSO from Osgood this morning, along with a couple of people who have done the Deer Hill Playground.
Francesca Arnold.
And it was a delightful meeting. So we have started that kind of conversation, so
Good.
it's exciting.
It came up as a quick topic of conversation at CPAC just as an update, and I think the feedback that I thought was particularly relevant was that since this is perhaps gonna be a bit more of a coordinated dance because of some of the architectural board and
Right.
consultant inputs, the request was that there were just clear lines of delineation around what is the PSO own
Correct.
versus what is the district
That was our
own.
conversation
Right.
this morning. And the fact that Nancy White is coming on board, and we're going to define her role as a consultant, or how is she going to lead the charge, and when will she be with us? And it was clear that the PSO charge is fundraising primarily, and making a vision. That I really wanted the playground to be what the parents have decided is necessary and beneficial for children. I had a couple of guidelines, and I've made this public before. I'm concerned about the sun, and I'm concerned about the accessibility of the playground by vehicles. So those are my concerns. There are also some guidelines. The preschool playground must be fenced in by law. So those kinds of things need to be in. My vision is to incorporate the arts on a playground. We talked about Deer Hill having a xylophone and a drum. So adding those kinds of things. And I also wanted to make it really clear that the Deer Hill playground is an awesome playground. It was built correctly. Everything was done correctly. It's just that we have been given this added piece that we have to do for the playground. So I really wanted to make sure that everyone understood that it was not anything that could have been prevented.
Right.
So it was a great conversation. The next step is to have Nancy White attend with the officers for PSO and decide what her role is going to be, and then a second meeting with the parents. And we talked about a meeting that would probably be in the evening as well as during the day to accommodate people who have schedules that would accommodate a better time.
Do you think there'll be a lot of parental what's what I'm looking for? Parental involvement would be encouraged. There's a lot of parents that are interested in participating in the discussion.
I think that people know their children.
Right.
And know what that should look like in a playground. I think it has to be developmental in nature, so that it's safe, it's attractive, but I think, again, in learning styles, where is the art, where is the more kinesthetic, where is the more, auditory piece, and where is, not everyone wants to climb and move and run. Is there something else that's inviting for children? So the balance will be good. It's exciting. And I did say that I had a placeholder, and Chris did verify for me today that there is a placeholder on the town meeting capital request for the summer for a placeholder for that playground, that it has to happen. And I believe it's a 2-year project.
And hopefully Chris can connect you with Russ Benetti
Yes.
and the CPC, because it could come out of capital, it could come out of community preservation funds.
It will.
Or it could come out of
Yes.
both, and they're both of them have to be courted from a committee perspective.
Right,
And
the
they have to-
conversation was who are the players, and it does involve a number.
Mm-hmm.
And it does involve conservation because it may be wetland back there. There's also a problem with maybe root systems growing there. So that if we put some poured rubber, what is the root system doing to that? And what do we have to do? Also the fact that we have town inspector, we have Ted Carroll, because it is a joint project.
Yeah.
And we did make it clear that it's not the Osgood School playground, it's a community playground located at Joseph Osgood School, because it is a town access. So we have to really keep that into perspective, that it is for all of our children, so.
And I don't know what the conversation looked like about timing, but I will caution you that the CPC does not meet very often, and it needs to be done sooner rather than later.
We're talking about December, and I did speak to Chris Senior about how to connect with that during the winter, and that they should, the committee should filter all agenda appearances through me, so that I can buffer when they meet and if they're on the agenda, rather than waste their time. So we kind of cleared what my role is in this point.
Good.
But I think we're all in agreement, it's not a one-year project. That this time next year, hopefully we'll have an extension by the board, the architectural board, to extend it another year, as we're showing good faith. It cannot be done in a year, not well done in a year.
I just, quick comment, and I'm sure you know that access road from Old Pasture Road will be done in the springtime, so that might impact some of the site work for.
We did talk about that as
Okay.
well. They thought the road was going right through the field, and someone did, so I said, no, it stops.
Oh, yeah,
It stops. It's
yeah.
just an emergency entrance, so, yeah, we did talk about that. And the fact that Deer Hill needs tiling in the summer also, so there's work going on in places, so.
So would the playground committee be the committee petitioning CPC for money, or would it be the schools?
Not there yet.
Okay.
We're still waiting for Nancy to guide us on what that should
Okay.
look like.
Okay. Any other questions?
I'm trying to think how it worked last year.
I think it was completely
It was
out of our hands.
It was completely, I don't remember it ever going before
No,
school committee
it
last
had
time.
Seems
nothing
like
to
you're
do
gonna
with
be
us.
They
informed.
just
It was
presented last year, it was
Right.
fully fundraising through Francesca Arnold
Right.
leading the charge.
But like you
Right.
said, if it's gonna involve roots and everything, it seems like they have to do the whole scope of the project, divide it up into what the specific pieces are, and then figure out who most logically
Correct.
that would, like, if you're dealing with roots and flooding and stuff, then it seems like it,
We're going to have to bring people in and out
right.
and consult.
Jenny Romas,
Yes.
the PSO with Francesca and Ralph Tulio chairing that committee did present it to CPC and led that whole charge, but we did involve all the players in town.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
but my point
But
was
but
that
they
it,
went to the CPC.
my point was that it was not a school committee or a school
Right,
project, it was done on behalf of the schools.
right, absolutely.
Ralph and Francesca attended this morning too,
Yeah,
so
so
they were
good.
very helpful,
Yeah.
and we looked at what are the pitfalls, and she said, we've already taken care of them.
Yeah, so
We've
great.
been there,
We'll
done
get
that,
a
will
wealth
be
of great
great.
Yeah.
information, yeah, I'm glad
They
you
could become consultants, playground consultants
certainly
for
can.
other,
They certainly
for
can.
other
That was
school
my
districts.
recommendation, I said, maybe Nancy will hire you to do
Yeah.
this.
Right.
They certainly can.
Okay, is there anything else? No? Okay, then, at 7:09, we could be having a motion to adjourn.
Are we going to
No, we
executive?
don't need to go into executive session.
Oh, who
Oh.
knew? Okay.
No.
Yikes, now what am I gonna do with my night? Sorry.
I'll make a motion to adjourn at 8:54
4?
PM.
So moved.